Can I have one chance tonight? God is good and God is good all the time. My name is Sammy Trail Spiritual Bible. I need to give you a word on tonight. We still doing Bible study. We still on David. He finally made it to be king. Finally got his position. And first we're gonna talk about Jonathan's son. He's a long name. I can't pronounce his name. We're gonna say Jonathan's son. Now David became king over Israel. So Saul and Jonathan are dead. So that means David think everybody in the family is dead. So we're gonna talk about the story of Jonathan's son later on, when when David want get ready to get my own Saul stuff to someone, and he gonna be like, well, everybody in Saul family is gone. Who I'm gonna get all this possession to? So Jonathan's son are still alive. You know, so Jonathan's son, lame in both feet. He was 5 years old when he heard that his grandfather and his daddy are dead. So when the news about Saul and Jonathan came from from his from his from his mama, his nurse had picked him up. They flee to run, but as she heard, to leave, he fell. He become disabled. And his name can pronounce his name. You know, so just a little short part of Jonathan's son, and down the line he gonna come back up. And so, because they're gonna think everyone is dead and Saul and Jonathan's family, they ain't gonna know that his son is still alive. So we're gonna talk about that. Talk about David. Yeah, just become to be king over Israel. Now that was a long wait, but he there. All the tribes of Israel came to David, and we are your own flesh and blood. Saul was king over us, but you was the one who led us. Military way. So they're saying that Saul was the king over us. But you're the one that led us with this military stuff. You the one had led us, because every time David always did better than Saul. Saul come back with 1,000. David come back with 10,000. So the campaign, the law say, you will shepherd my peace. Now see, that's what Israel always say. The Lord said, you know, David will shepherd his people. And they kept on, kept remembering that. That's all they was waiting on, David to be the king over there. So the Lord said, you will shepherd our people Israel, and you will become their ruler. And when all the elders of Israel had come to be King David, so they was waiting on David to be king, and David waited patiently. So at Hebron, the king made a covenant with them, and before the Lord, and they anointed David king over Israel. I mean, this is finally, he had become in position. Now this was the third time they was anointed. Because see, right after Saul died, he didn't go straight to Israel. He been anointed by Judah. Now the first one he was anointed privately, from Samuel. The second time he was anointed was king over tribes of Judah. Now this finally, he was crowned king over Israel. This the one he been waiting on for 20 years. So half of David's life, he looked at, his life looked at blunt. You know, he didn't. He was waiting patiently. Sometimes you can wait patiently. Sometimes you can trust God, believe God, but still, in that time of wait, your life still look blunt. You still like, God said he gonna do this. Okay, a year passed. God said he gonna do this, and the time just kept on passing, but he kept on waiting. Even though his life looked at blunt, even though everything is tumbling down, even though everything is all out of control, you don't know what direction you go, but keep on running from cave to cave. But he kept on holding on. He kept on holding on, even though your life looked blank. He kept on trusting God. You know, so half of his life he was running from Saul. You know, but God, had promised to make him a king over Israel. You know, and was now being fulfilled. You know, so although the kingdom will be divided again, you know, David was 30 years old when he became king and he reigned, you know, for 40 years. You know, so he reigned over Judah 7 years and he 6 months to Jerusalem and he reigned over all Israel and Judah for 3 years, 37, 36 years. You know, so David did not become king over Israel until he was 37 years old. Cause remember he went over to Judah first, right after Saul death. You know, he reigned for like 5 or 6 years. You know, then he came over to Israel to be king over there. And you'll think he would have reigned over there first, since he been that's the one he was waiting for to be king for 20 some years. You know, so although he had been promised, you know, the kingdom many years earlier, you know, during those years, you know, David had waited patiently, you know, for the fulfillment of God's promise. You know, so David had patience. You know, men also had that kind of patience. I've been crumbling and mumbling the whole time. David, all he been doing was running from Saul half of his life, running from cave to cave. But he did it patiently, you know, until he had the last straw with Saul. You know, he waited patiently for the fulfillment of God promise. And, you know, David had patience, you know, just as his time of waiting, you know, when your time of waiting, God was preparing him for the important test. You know, a waiting period may help prepare you for your position. Because while you're in the waiting process, you can train at the same time. You know, he was training because see he was fighting war and everything else while he was running. He was under Saul, so he was getting his training, while you wait, that's the time to get your training. That's the time to get your training. So that's all the word I have for you on the day. It's a celebration. David finally got in position, but you think he would have reigned over there first? You know, after Saul death, he went to Judah and David made him king, and he ran over there for like 5 or 6 years. Then he went to Israel, and become that was his main thing he was waiting on, being a king over Israel. So we see this is the story I'm always talking about that David had to wait 20 years to be in his position, but now it being fulfilled. You know, God was with him the whole time. God gonna say, I'm gonna be with you the whole time. I will not forsake you. Or leave you. And we see that God was with David the whole time because God had a purpose on David's life. God had promised David. And when God promised you, He gonna stick with you until you walk right into it. Now David walking into his promise that God promised him. And he wait patiently and trust God to get there. So that's all the word I have for y'all today. I'm a walking example. I'm like David. I'm waiting, you know, waiting, believing, and trusting in God. Because He made a promise, and when God make a promise, them words gonna stick with you, and they're gonna help you to hold on, be patient, and to keep on moving forward. Because if He said it, it's gonna come to pass. So David waited patient. Then in that time, are you waiting? It's your time to get your training. You get your little notes together, whatever the case is. But you gotta keep your faith. You gotta stay strong. You got to keep your hope alive. It's not easy. It was not easy for David. It's not easy for me. You got to be strong. You got to keep your faith, your hope, and everything might fade away, but you got to keep that hope alive. You got the words that go, whatever words God told you, you got to have it stuck in your mind. Because those words will give you strength to keep on holding on. So that's all the word I have for y'all tonight. Y'all have a blessed night, and I'll see y'all on the next video.